This week is actually my bar mitzvah parsha, and so it's time for them. And I made this speech very similar to my bar mitzvah speech, so hopefully it goes over better the second time. The beginning of this week's parsha starts with Eli Toldos Noach Ish Tzadik Tamim Hayah B'Dorasah. For those of you who don't know Hebrew, like me, at least that's what Rav Charnoff tells me, it means these are the generations of Noach. Noach was a righteous man, perfect in his generations, with an S. There's something in this pasuk that appears to be mad weird. Why does the pasuk start with B'Dorasah, meaning generations in plural, while the more common approach is to the issue of generations being plural, is referring to the notion of comparing Noach's righteousness to another generation, perhaps like Abraham's. I like to offer a different approach to this question. In my opinion, there are two versions of Noach, maybe kind of a third. One pre-flood, one in the Teva, and one post-flood. In Noach's pre-flood years, he was surrounded by social pressures. Noach's generation was guilty of immorality and idolatry. And they performed these sins covertly before Hashem. They also robbed and polluted the earth to a level of affecting the animals, whatever that means. While Noach was able to resist these social pressures, when Hashem approached him with a task, he didn't take it too seriously. That he only cared for his own family, and he didn't give his help to the rest of the world. The Teva, which was the next type of Noach, was his transformation period. He had time to grow and to reflect and become an entirely new person, and to really appreciate what he had before. Then, in Noach's post-flood years, he put his growth into action. Noach, yet again, was tasked with a huge responsibility of saving the world, but this time, shaping in the world not to fall into the trap of the previous generation. But this time, however, Noach took the task seriously. The first thing Noach did after the flood was offer a korban to Hashem, showing his appreciation for all that Hashem had done for Noach and to his family. This approach is completely different from the pre-flood, when Noach didn't appreciate the fact that Hashem came to him with a mission to save the world. He was more involved with saving himself and his family, as opposed to the rest of the world. With Noach's newfound wisdom, acquired throughout the time in the Teva through self-reflection, he got to rebuilding the post-flood world. First, by exhibiting his appreciation for Hashem that was lost in the previous generation. When asking this question to Rav Machlis, Shlita, he provided a very unique opinion in which Noach's life is parallel to ours today. I'd like to share his answer. We are currently in our own Teva. We each came from backgrounds where we were pressured into social norms of our environments. We were surrounded by lashon hara, lying, and maybe some non-shomer negiah stuff. But these are just a few of the pressures. In some instances, we succumbed to these pressures. Just like for Noach on the Teva, this year of Yeshiva will shape the rest of our lives and transform us and help us decide what we want our legacies to be. It is time to shed our old and grow our new. We have the ability this year, just like Noach in the Teva, to grow and change in tremendous ways, to help us build our own identities and shape our own legacies. And it's our job to take advantage of this. I want to give you all a bracha, that this year you find your own identity, not affected by social norms or outside pressures, and that you use this year to shape your legacy so that you too could be called a tzaddik like Noah. One second, I'm just recording this for my dad.
Video right here.
Be on YouTube, don't worry.
Of course. First of all, thank you very much to the tunnel for asking me like a month and a half ago to speak. Thank you, Rav Jake. You helped me out a bit today. All right. So, the human brain is a crazy thing. It's one of the most unbelievable things in the entire world, right? Does anyone really understand the brain? You don't really know what's going on there. Why do we sleep? Why does our brain need sleep? All this weird stuff. It helps us breathe every single day. We're breathing when we sleep. We breathe. We walk, talk, think, comprehend, learn Torah. All this amazing stuff. Your brain may be the hardest working machine from the day you're born till chas v'shalom lo aleinu you get asked to speak in public. And then, it shuts off. So I'm sorry if anything I say doesn't make sense, but hopefully we can all get a nice message out of this.
So what's a prophet, right? Prophet. So, in my mind, when I was a little kid, it's this glowing guy walking with the birds chirping on his side, animals walking next to him. He's a great person. Actually, Rav Google, based off of Merriam-Webster, brings down, says one who utters divinely inspired revelations. Interesting. So that's kind of a weird thing. I don't really understand that, but Google's above me. So I looked at the Ramban, who, of course, is way above Google. So he says Noach was a prophet. Why was Noach a prophet? What made Noach a prophet? So Noach, he says, he was free of sin. Makes him a prophet. Okay? Noach, prophet, free of sin. This guy built a boat for 120 years. Like, is that prophet status? Is that on that level? So not to compare Michael Jordan to Noach, but if you look at Michael Jordan, this might help us understand this a little bit more. So Michael Jordan had a name. People called him. Had to do with a prophet. If you know it, great. If not, whatever. So what made Michael Jordan so great? That he was the greatest of his generation. Some say he was the greatest of his generation. If you put him in LeBron's generation, wouldn't be that good. Listen, if you put him by Moshe, Adam, those guys were pretty big. Moshe was like 10 feet tall or something. He wouldn't have done that well. But in his generation, he was the best. He ran the world. He was everywhere. What made him so great? 6 championships. Other people had more championships than that. So in my eyes, I don't know much basketball, but he won 10 scoring what's it called? 10 scoring titles. He had the most average points per game for 10 seasons. So if we take out one of those seasons where he actually blew away the competition, the other 9 seasons, let's look at it, right? First place, Michael Jordan. Second place, another guy. Why do I know the first place versus the second place? What made the best of the best separate from the great? How many points was it? Average of those 9 years, it was 2.5. 2.5 points per game across 9 years. That's 1 shot per game. 1 shot per game separated the best of the best from the great. The greats are great, but they're not the best of the best. So how can we tie that back to Noach? What does that have to do with Noach? Noach, for 120 years, Noach built this boat. 120 years he had emunah that Hashem would come, take away the rest of the world, and he would save me with this boat. What did Noach do that made him separate from the generation, that made him the best of the best? What separated Noach and made him the greatest of the greats? It was that little bit, every single day putting in, building 1 board at a time of the ship. 1 board for 120 years, till he had the ship. So maybe, why was Noach called a prophet? Because he was able to see that by putting in this little bit every single day, he was able to accomplish great things. So, by us, how can we apply this to our lives? So, every single one of us, we have some time during the day. We have some time during the day, some time at night. And it doesn't take much, a little thing here, a little thing there. It adds up to great things. So I want to bring a little story that I heard once, actually read it somewhere. There's this guy, he moves into a new town. The guy likes to walk, he's a pretty athletic guy, go on runs. So he runs by the pond nearby every single day. He sees an old lady picking up 1 turtle at a time, cleaning off the algae, putting it back in, 1 turtle at a time. There are a lot of turtles in the area. So one day, as he's running by, he did this for a few weeks. One day, he randomly decides to stop and ask this lady, well, why are you cleaning off the algae of the turtles? Most turtles have algae on them. What's 1, 2, 3 turtles going to do a day? She said, if you ask any of these turtles, any of them could talk, you ask them how much it means to them, they'd say it might even mean the world to them. Now they could swim better. She cleaned them off. This algae that's on them their whole lives, she helped them out. So with us, what can we add? What little bit can we do more each day? If you come to Mariv, hopefully we all come to Mariv. That's one thing, come to Mariv. But can you stay 5 minutes after Mariv, 3 minutes after Mariv, 5 minutes after Mariv once a week, 5 minutes after Mariv twice a week, 1 more chavrusa, not even every single day, just a few times a week. Maybe take on an amud, one little thing that you could think about, that you could add to your week to do. And just like this woman, this old lady cleaning off the turtles. Imagine your future self could talk to you, and it could tell you right now, if you were to just put in that 5 more minutes every single day, I would thank you so much. So imagine, be prophets ourselves. Give us a bracha. We should all be prophets, and we should be able to see ahead and see where this little bit, maybe not every single day, but just a little bit added to our schedule could really bring us far places in life. Shabbat shalom.
Abie Goldberger.
This siyum is Le'ilui Nishma, my grandfather, Mordechai Ben Aryeh, whose 29th yahrzeit was this past Monday on Kaftet Tishrei, and whose name I'm zocheh to carry on. This idea was also, this first idea is also inspired by something I heard from Rav Jake. So the Medrash Rabbah contrasts Moshe Rabbeinu and Noach. So Noach is originally described, the first description of him in the opening pasuk of the Parsha, as Ish Tzadik Tamim Haya B'Dorotav. Right? Some pretty high praise. And later on we say, towards the end of the Parsha, Noach Ish Adama, seemingly showing that Noach had this great decline in his status. Whereas Moshe, when he's first described, he's described as Ish Mitzri. Right? Nothing special there. Not even what he really was. Ish Ivri, a Jewish man. And then when Moshe passes away, he's then called Ish HaElokim, right? A huge upgrade, right? The complete opposite of Noach. The Meshech Chochmah explains that what the defining factor in making this huge difference between Noach and Moshe was leadership. Noach secluded himself and kept himself in his own bubble, away from the outside world. Moshe actively sought to help Am Yisrael and to give chizuk to everyone around him. In Ketuvot, on Daf Samich Zayin Amud Bet, the Gemara is discussing how one can properly give tzedakah and provide for the poor. An example of this was someone who's accustomed to being wealthy, right? So someone who was rich, and unfortunately, whatever happened, their business tanked, whatever, and now they're struggling to make the cut. We do our best to provide them the luxuries and the lifestyle that they're used to, right? And this idea really only applies practically in cases where there are no real other aniyim with greater needs to provide for, because obviously you wouldn't be getting some rich person a sports car while there's people starving. But it's still a nice idea to learn about the sensitivity that we should have for other people and other people's needs, and going above and beyond. My grandfather, growing up, for my mother's family, money was tight. My grandfather, he worked as an electrician for the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, and he worked the night shifts because the night shifts you would be able to get some extra cash, and he'd work on the subway tracks. And during the day, he would bike around because they didn't have a car, and he liked biking. He wanted to stay in shape. And his day job was he would do repairs for people in the neighborhood. So one day, my mother found a notebook that had in it all the expenses from his so-called business that he had during the day. And she noticed that each on the pages of expenses and charges, each family that was on it, well, most of the families were also struggling, and things financially were very tight. And she noticed that the charges next to their names, some of them only a few dollars, some of them. And some of them for bigger projects, still like crazy prices that made no sense. And my mom put together that all these people were charged for by my grandfather was for the parts, and the service that he was doing for them was completely free. So my mom was annoyed, and she asked my grandfather, "How can you be doing this? We're struggling ourselves." And he explained that there are always people worse off, and to always recognize that, and to always see that while things might seem tough, there's always people who have it tougher, and that he was perfectly happy with what they had, and he didn't need anything else. After my grandfather passed away, my mother found receipts of his, check receipts, to all those tzedakah organizations who had mailed the house. And my grandfather, he would send them whatever he could, just a few dollars, whatever he had to give. He would make sure to give. May his neshama have an aliyah, and may we all be zocha to attain such strong sensitivity for others and reach such high levels of chesed. I'll now finish Masechet Ketubot. Amar Rav Chia Barashi, Amar Rav, Atidin kol ilanei sarek sheba'aretz Yisrael sheyitanu perot shenemar ki eitz naseh perav teina vegefen natnu chelam. Rav Chia Barashi said in the name of Rav, all the barren trees that are in Eretz Yisrael are destined to bear fruit, as we say in Yoel, for the tree has borne its fruit. The fig tree and grapevine have yielded their wealth. Hadron alach shnei dinei gzerot v'salikala Masechet Ketubot. Hadron alach Masechet Ketubot v'hadrach alan. Daitan alach Masechet Ketubot v'daitach alan. Lo nitnaseh minach Masechet Ketubot v'lo nitnaseh minan lo be'alma adain v'lo be'alma de'ate. Hadron alach Masechet Ketubot v'hadron alan. V'hadrach alan. Datan alach Masechet Ketubot v'daitach alan. Lo nitnaseh minan Masechet Ketubot v'lo nitnaseh minan lo be'alma adain v'lo be'alma de'ate. Hadron alach Masechet Ketubot v'hadrach alan. Daitan alach Masechet Ketubot v'daitach alan. Lo nitnaseh minach Masechet Ketubot v'lo nitnaseh minan lo be'alma adain v'lo be'alma de'ate. Yiratzon lefanecha Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu sheteheh Toratcha emunatenu be'olam hazeh v'teheh imanu olam haba Chanina bar Papa Rami bar Papa Nachman bar Papa Achai bar Papa Abba Mari bar Papa Rafram bar Papa Rachish bar Papa Surchav bar Papa Ada bar Papa Daru bar Papa Arim na Adonai Eloheinu et divrei Toratcha b'finu v'yot amcha beit Yisrael v'neheya anachnu b'tzetzeinu ותצא עמך בית ישראל כולנו יודעי שמך ולעובדי תורתך לשמה מאויבי תחכמנו מצוותיך כי לעולם יהי ליבי תמים בחוקיך למען לא אבוש לעולם לא אשכח פקודיך כי בם חייתני ברוך אתה אדוני למדני חוקיך אמן 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 סלע ועד. מודים אנחנו לפניך אדוני אלוהינו ואלי אבותינו ששמת חלקנו מיושבי בית המדרש ולא שמת חלקנו מיושבי קרנות שאנו משכימים והם משכימים. אנו משכימים לדברי תורה והם משכימים לדברים בטלים. אנו עמלים והם עמלים. אנו עמלים ומקבלים שכר והם עמלים ואינם מקבלים שכר. אנו רצים והם רצים. אנו רצים לחיי העולם הבא והם רצים לבאר שחת. שנאמר ואתה אלוהים תורידם לבאר שחת אנשי דמים ומרמה לא יחצו ימיהם ואני אפתח בך. יהי רצון לפניך אדוני אלוהי כשם שעזרתני לסיים מסכת כתובות כן תעזרני להתחיל מסכתות וספרים אחרים ולסיימם ללמוד וללמד לשמור ולעשות ולקיים את כל דברי תלמוד תורתך באהבה וזכות כל התנאים והאמוראים ותלמידי חכמים יעמוד לי ולזרעי שלא תמוש התורה מפי ומפי זרעי וזרע זרעי עד עולם ותתקיים בי בהתהלכך תנחה אותך בשוכבך תשמור עליך בהקיצותה כי תשיחך כי בי ירבו ימיך ויוספו לך שנות חיים אורך ימים בימינה ישמאל אשר בכבוד אדוני עוז לעמוד עושה שלום עם רב ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו
Ashrecha,